there, and welcome back to Scrap with Penny. I am still plugging away on my 2021 photos, and I'm pretty excited because today I spent some time in my photos, and I have albums created to farm all of these. I also signed up for the Scrapbook and Cards Today Pause for a Cause. Virginia Nebel designed 10 scrapbook layouts using the Bow Wow and Meow Bella Boulevard lines. And I've got a lot of dog action in 2021 because 3 puppies entered our family that year. So I'm gonna use the Virginia Nebel to help me knock out some of the pet stuff. And today, right now, I'm gonna focus on this to Houston to see Mom. And I'm gonna go ahead and check it off in front of you because I'm gonna get it done, and it's looking good. I mean, I'm feeling pretty positive about where I'm headed, and I just wanted to share that. So I've shared before, I did a month in review for 2021, and then this is the remnant of the stories to tell. I've never finished a whole year, and so I'm getting pretty driven to do that. So in 2022, we moved my mom. We sold her house and we moved her in with my sister in an attached apartment. And so this fall of 2021, when I went home to see her, it was starting to wind down my going back to my hometown. Now, my hometown isn't, really anything to write home about, but it is where I've gone for so many years. And I will say, when we sold her house and we drove off, I was really glad to think I would never have to, go back there, because I did a lot of travel to her house in 2022. But anyway, I digress a lot, which I know I'm prone to do. So I had shown this June 2015 in a recent video, and I passed on it because it was a grid and I had just done a grid. But this one is paper heavy, and it kind of called out to me. And I found 3 pictures from this trip, and it was October. Now in Houston, there is no fall really, but I'm going with the theme of home and fall because this is the story that's going to unfold, is me going back to my hometown for some of the last few times. So yeah, and I mathed my way into this, and it is 9 5/8 squared, but I'm going with this Harvest Lane from Simple Stories. It's a very old line. It's actually from 2012. And y'all, we're so lucky that our stuff keeps. I mean, how exciting that I would have something from 2012 and it still be, pristine. So this quilt pattern is kind of what's evoking the home sentiment to me. And this wooden paper is what came with the collection. It's not going to work for my purpose, but it did send me off in search of other wood grains. And this is the Echo Park that I've been crushing on lately. I wanted something a little darker though. Y'all can tell that I'm about 90% over my cold. So I'm sorry that I'm still a little throaty. Anyway, I went to Simple Stories, and this is it. This is this beautiful dark wood grain. It goes with the tints in the paper. And so what I want to do is I want my background. I want one row of circles to show all the way around. So I'm going to have to cut my background from like here to here to down here. So even though my sketch calls for 9 5/8, I'm going to do a custom fit inside this quilt. and then I'll gut the quilt because it's too good. It's too good to let go. And there'll be another story for another time. The back of it, this really is almost an identical paper to October Afternoon Hometown that was done in, I think, black and cream. But it's a good B-side, and you know we love a good B-side. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. And then for my little insets, I've pulled some 3x4 journaling cards. I'm going to see if I can get those. This calls for 2 2/4 by 3, but I printed my pictures at 3x4. So I'm going to see, since this brown is now going to be a defined size, I might need to reprint these. So, you know, as per usual, we won't know until we get started, get going. And so along those lines, I'll pick the rest of my papers based on the journaling cards I decide to use. Oh, and I like this for home, so I want to use this one. And I like this for journaling. I thought about making a pocket because this sketch actually has a pocket. It's an upside down pocket. That doesn't make any sense to me. But I could do a pocket right there. And so I might work a pocket in. And then I need a third smaller element. And let's see. Here's another. You would think I had it prepared. Here it is. I'm thinking about this one that says home, and it would be green, and it would tie into the green in the photo. So I feel like this is going to be the third element. Okay, so let me, well, you know what? Let's just measure this right here together. I feel like my videos have been really kind of getting short lately, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want them to think I'm doing everything off camera. So I think rather than try and get a measurement, I just need to mark the paper. This will be easier to see the marks. And what I'll do when I cut, I'll cut just to the right of that, because you can always trim a little off, but you sure can't take it back. And then on this bottom part, here's my circle. So I'm going to go here. So I'm going to trim from here to here. So here's my first cut, and you can see that it does need to be trimmed just a little. That's okay. I'd rather take off a hair than have cut it too short. I thought about double matting this to get it to really pop, but that would probably be overkill. Let me give this a haircut. Okay, let's check this out. That looks good from here to here, and it looks good down here. So let me trim off this branding strip, and let me gut this piece of paper. I need to gut it at like 2.5. That'll leave a 7 by 7 square. Okay, so I need 2.5. It's kind of hard to see between the track. Okay, so that's 2.5. Well, you know, let's see. And I don't want to cut it too short. I'm really good at eyeballing 2, but 2.5 is a little longer. 2.5. So do y'all remember this Harvest Lane? It was one of the very early Simple Stories lines back Man, their lines used to be very simple and not as extravagant as they are now. They relied, back in the early days, they relied on all of those element sheets. And let's see. Because, you know, they started out as a pocket, really, in my opinion, they started out as like a pocket scrapbook company, you know, because they had all of the 4x6, and the whole name, Simple Stories, was geared toward getting pages done quickly. So, let's see. I could have gone a little tighter, but I like there to be enough width around the page to support. Oh yeah. And so see, here's this nice, this could be a centerpiece for a page. So I don't like wasting the paper. Okay, let me tape this down. Okay, so since I'm going off the design of the paper, I don't need to use my little acrylic corners because I'm just gonna line it up. I think I want the wood to go this way, so I'm just gonna rotate it like so, and it works. Let's see. I might like that blue at the top. Okay, and so now I realize this piece of paper is significantly smaller. It's 8.5, and there's no way 3x4s are gonna fit on it, so I'm gonna have to reprint these a little smaller. And you know, that's not ideal, but it's not the end of the world. So I actually ended up only reprinting this one. On these two, I just trimmed them down. And I did want a white border, but I would rather cut up a little bit of white cardstock than go through the photo paper. So I only reprinted this one, and it's because when because of our faces, we wouldn't fit. And I think I'm gonna go this route. I'm gonna put the two of us front and center, and then these memorable moments down here. So now I need to figure out my little accessory pieces. I know I'm gonna cut that green home first. I'm gonna have to see if it'll work on this revised size. So these photos, this square ended up being a little more than 8.5, and the photos ended up being 2.5 by, I think, 3.5. Yep. So now I need to see if I can trim down those little cards. So I'm trimming them down to the same 2.5 by 3.5 as the photos. And it could be that I mat all of them or mat none of them or trim my pictures down a little more. So I want to make a little pocket for right here. And I've trimmed this card to 3.5 tall. And I scored this to fold under. I'm gonna do a slim line of adhesive here and here, and then I'll trim this off, and that'll be a little pocket for journaling. So there's my little pocket. The adhesive needs to set up, and it'll have to be something really thin going in there, but this collection had the snap pockets, which Simple Stories rolled out with the early lines, but because these are trimmed down, the ones that come with a collection wouldn't work. So I like this as a substitute. So now I need to debate on if I'm gonna mat these or not, and I'm feeling like there's not enough paper on this for me. So let me see if I can come up with something to put behind these elements for a little more color. When I went to dig through the paper, I came across this card for home, and so I trimmed it up. The house just barely fits on the 2.5 wide, but I think I can live with it. So I need to decide on, I don't think I'm gonna do a cardstock mat. I know that's gonna be a little different for me, but I think I can live with it like it is. So let me figure out my center, and I'll tape down the first picture and we'll go from there. I will tell you this, and I'm probably crazy for admitting it, but I am thinking I want to stitch along this quilt pattern, and maybe on the inside of these. I don't want to start stitching on this because then it would kind of have you stitching everything, but if I just come inside, that would be different. So just to walk you through how I did this, I put a centering ruler here for my top margin, and this is centered up in the middle, and then on the bottom I measured, and if I do a 5/8 margin here and a 5/8 margin at the top, it should be pretty centered. So I did this one first. I'll tape down the bottom ones and we'll go from there. Okay, so I have my 3 pictures and my 3 elements taped down, and referring back to my sketch, it doesn't show a title necessarily, so I'll have to think of something to maybe put right here. My journaling is going to go inside here, and I need to decide if I really am going to be crazy about the stitching and what embellishments I can pull. So the grid, I think, works really well. And of course, getting the first one placed is the hardest, and then the last one too. But I feel pretty good about the interior and exterior margins, and it's coming together. So I spent entirely way too much time looking for embellishments, and this Harvest Lane didn't have a lot in the collection originally, but I have a bin of fall, and so I pulled that out and sorted through it, and this is actually from Pink Fresh, and this is from another Simple Stories line. It's from the Vintage Blessings. Happy fall. It is a madhouse here. You wouldn't believe everything that I've cut out for pulling a brad. This is from Pumpkin Spice. And let me see if I can pull my journaling out. So this just, I taped it on the back of a trimmed down 3x4 card and decided that I would put the orange gingham side up. And I think that's great. And so now the big decision is, do I stitch or not stitch? And I think I was okay with this part being kind of plain because I felt like I was going to let the stitching carry the layout. So here I go on poking holes and stitching. I am kind of excited about it though. I think it's going to look really great when it's finished, and I just need to dive into that. So I did pick the little red flower here and the red to move the red around and have some consistency. And I think once all the textures added with the thread, that this will be good and done. So wish me luck, because here I go. So I am back, and it is actually 2 days later because I spent all of yesterday working on the Q&A video, but I wanted to see if I could zoom in on some of the stitching, because I'll not lie, it was very tedious, and for some reason I wasn't really into it for more than half of it, but I think it looks really good. I think it looks really good. And to be honest, most of the time I was stitching, I was thinking about how unhappy I was with this up here and that I thought it needed some kind of title. So I have cut on the Cameo a title called Going Home, and I cut 3 in cream to layer underneath this cranberry color. And I envision this going down right about here. And I think that's gonna make all the difference in the world. So let me, I like to take the dark color to the light so that when I stack them, it's more visible. It's pretty tedious, in my opinion, when you're working with these smaller sizes. And I think I measured this to be about 1 inch tall in total. And I just worked to smush it together. But when I was doing the stitching, I just kind of felt like the stitching elevated the level to the importance of the story, you know, in that I'm wrapping up going to my hometown. And I decided that I just wanted a little more oomph on the layout. So that's when I decided that a little script would work. And it took me a long time to decide the color, because obviously you couldn't use cream or brown because of, you know, it going right in here. And I will also say red basil is really hard to cut. I think it has to do with how much ink has to go into the red for it to be saturated, and it always cuts kind of scraggly. So I did the pressure at the highest level. Now I didn't do a repeat. Should have done a repeat, but I also slowed it down. It seems to do a little better when you slow it down. But nonetheless, I've got some rough edges I'm going to have to clean up, and that's okay. Once I get the red onto the cream, it will give it a little stability, and I should be able to clean it up, even if I have to do it with scissors. So, and that's why I say it's tedious, but a custom title is just that. It's a little bit more effort, but it's usually worth the effort, I think. So I was wondering, you know, since I'm talking about wrapping up going to my hometown, when was the last time you went to your hometown? Some of you may live where you grew up. My husband's job, you can hear Sophie, my husband's job took us all over the state. And so we lived near my hometown for 3 years. And then my job actually moved us to the north part of Houston. And then we were there on the north part of Houston for 7 years. And then we ended up going to San Antonio. So, anyway, I just wondered, and if you've scrapped where you grew up. The little hometown that I grew up in, it was very 1950s, very simple, and it has changed. It has changed a lot. It's really now low income housing area, and what you'll see, like people of my parents' generation, they either pass away or they move in with family somewhere else. And so the little community is just, it's just changed a lot. I guess that's normal. It's hard to sustain a socio-demographic, I guess. I don't know. But I thought that I hadn't done a cameo title in a while. And on a lot of my layouts, it's I wouldn't say necessarily it's a signature look, but it is something that I do and that I like to do. I got out of habit with it when my Cameo 3 was on the fritz for almost 2 years. And so right before I started my channel, I don't know what month it was. It was earlier this year. I replaced the Cameo 3. Michael's had a 4. They were clearancing it out and I grabbed it. So I'm really glad I did that, since on National Scrapbook Day, I dove in to a lot of the digital kits. I think I replaced that Cameo before I started watching Lisa in March, her March Madness Disney layouts, because I don't think I would have watched them if I wasn't capable of cutting on the Cameo. My other Cameo, the Bluetooth, wouldn't work. So, and I'm going to have to find all the little dots on the eyes and do that. I won't do that on camera. I'll do that off camera. And I'll clean this up off camera, but I wanted you to kind of see. I was thinking I wanted it all on the brown, not hanging off. Let's see, that little pocket. That might work a little better. Okay, so then the other thing that I wanted to do that I thought was that this little flower is just too simple. So no worries, I know what I'm gonna do. I pulled this heart off of the sticker sheet and this grateful, and the word grateful is in my journaling, which I don't know if I read that to y'all or not. I don't necessarily like to read the journaling. I mean, people say that people like you to read them the journaling. So if you like the journaling read, drop me a comment, and that's something I can do. I think I've only done it on 1 or 2 videos, so because it feels weird to be reading out loud to yourself. I have a thing about, I'm a very fast reader, and so one of my big pet peeves is when my husband wants to read out loud to me because it's not fast enough. And I think when I read the journaling out loud, I think I annoy myself because I'm purposely going slower. I thought this would be a good little touch. It introduced a little bit of color up here because that green was feeling a little too powerful, and I wanted to tone it down. So when you have a big stitching project that lasts hours, you can think about a lot of things. I did get caught up on 2 of my favorite YouTube channels, Life and Layouts and Coley Bing. And that was fun, because when you create, when I'm sitting here scrapbooking now, I can't any longer watch YouTube while I create. I was thinking I could make this work right up here. I reserve the right to change my mind on that. When I was looking for titles, I had gone through all my foam stickers, and I had seen this little blue foam heart. And now that I've got another heart on the page, I'm gonna bring this in right here. I got my title on, and I'm happy with that. And I feel like this looks better up here. I agree that that's good to stay there. And I think that's gonna be a wrap on this. There's not a lot more that's needed on it, in my opinion. I felt like all along the stitching on the quilt pattern would do the heavy lifting, and I mean, the paper could have carried itself because of the vibrancy of the palette and the multicolored aspect of it. I thought the stitching would really bring forth the pattern a little more and the nostalgia. So I did think about stitching on this brown, but because the margins aren't even, if I had stitched, I think it would have really called that out. And then I thought about stitching out here, and I thought, no, just let it rest. So the sketch itself did have stitching around this box, but they didn't do all the other stitching I did. So I'm fine with it. I'm happy. I think that it is a great nod to wrapping up a chapter of my life and of Mom's life. Mom lived in this little community for, oh goodness, from 57 to 2022, 65 years. So that's a long time. And I thought I would just show you all of the threads I used. I've never done a layout that had this many colors on it. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Did I count the cream twice? Yeah, 9. But I think it needed it. I thought tone on tone was the way to go. And so there. I hope that you had some scrapbooking fun with me. I hope that you're enjoying the content. I'm having a lot of fun putting it together. And as always, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. I'll be back soon with more layouts, videos, and a little stash busted magic. So please come back and crop with me. Until next time, happy scrapping, and remember, this is where paper meets story. Bye-bye.